Hi, everybody. Welcome to my creative space. I'm on my side of the room. um, if I went rogue and created yet another channel, I would call it just a number two pencil. But not that anybody watched the previous video yet, and I don't know that anybody really will. I put up a video about drawing the best eye I've ever drawn so far. Just to quickly recap, especially on the assumption nobody's ever going to watch the other video, I went from, I'm reticent to say like I never thought I would ever draw a decent looking eye. It just wasn't in my skill set. And didn't seem like it was going to be something that was going to be in my skill set anytime soon. But I've been practicing, and I've been working on my sketchbook, and it's coming along. So let's take a look at that a little bit closer and a little bit quicker, and that MTV editing or whatever. All right, briefly, I was just watching Mohammed Aghbadi, so there's the proof. I don't want to just be saying I was doing it and not prove up I was actually doing it. All right, so he was just doing a video here about an artist he found on Instagram where the guy does concept art, and I guess most notably for the video game The Last of Us, and probably even more to the point The Last of Us 2. I don't know if the guy was always working on the game from its inception, but anyway, his thing was, what you can learn from this guy is if you're going to do character concept art, make your characters, like what you're drawing regarding the characters relevant. Okay? So the next thing I'm going to flash on the screen here isn't going to seem to make any flipping sense, but just stick with me on this. So Ethan Becker is another popular art YouTuber who's really in your face the way he does his shtick. But the thing with Ethan Becker is that he has a tendency to teach without teaching. If you see past the shtick, you'll realize what it is that he's showing you or teaching you. It's just he's not going to always come out and say it explicitly what he means. But then other times, like if you stick with his videos and see enough of them, you start to kind of piece together the thread here. Like, oh, okay, all right. Well, one of the things that he's big into, because he does animation art, and I don't, but that's fine, because again, you can learn from lots of different people. Well, his thing is that you should always be working from reference, not just from imagination. So just to recap, this is from imagination. And, relative to the crud I used to draw, I think this is a pretty damn good eye, but I know that there's better to be done, and the thing is, I wasn't using a reference. But when you use a reference, so what I've got on my screen right now is Upsplash. And what I'm trying to find, because I have no saved reference, because that's been kind of a new concept here. It's new and old, and I'll get into that in just a sec. Well, on my iPad, I made a folder called Reference, and I've been trying to go through and get photos that fit what I'm trying to do. So in this case, I'm doing a bunch of eye drawings. I want different angles. I've been trying to get them off of YouTube by looking at different people do on YouTube, but that's not necessarily the best way to go about it. It's a way. But I'm like, well, Upsplash is free, so this is nice because I don't have to say not sponsored, because I don't know that Upsplash has a business model. Or I'm sorry, Unsplash. It's all free photos. If there's a business model, I'm not aware of it, so whatever. They have nothing to do with this. They're a resource. And if you want to use it, great. If you don't, great. With this, what I was looking for was, I'm trying to find really intense facial expressions. The thing was with Unsplash, the downside is you can only search for one word at a time. So I could say something like stunning eyes, and it'll just either give me eyes of anything, or it'll give me things that it considers, or somebody tagged it as stunning, and it could be like a building. So like right now it's stunning and somebody put a starfish, so that's not what I want. All right, the reason being, and what this is all building up to, is I want to draw Inanna, who's one of my characters. And she's very intense, not like yelling like a drill sergeant intense, but what I mean is I don't want to spoil it for people who haven't read it and whoever will read my Purity trilogy. Just suffice it to say that Inanna knows who she is, she knows what she's about, and she dates back a ways. So I was drawing these nonsense drawings from imagination because I agree with people like Lavender Town that was saying it's okay to do a blend of reference and imagination. It doesn't have to be all one or the other. Ethan Becker is right that reference can be really good and can really help you out as far as if you're trying to like get angles right and poses right and shading and whatever. But there's something to be said for imagination also, because eventually if you're going to draw space aliens or something, then you really are in the realm of imagination, and you're going to have to be able to come up with something on your own, and you're not going to have a reference necessarily for the thing you're trying to draw. Well, Psychra says do iterative drawing, meaning it's not just enough that you're drawing this kind of stuff. You look at something like this, like I said, this is a damn good eye. And again, relative to what I previously was capable of doing, then this is an advanced improvement. But this is more in line with what I would normally have done in high school. So that's not an advancement really. And reference would really have helped that out as far as informing whether or not I was doing it right. There have been like better details that I could have picked from. Well, Psychra says look at what you did, and look at what you like about it and what you don't like, and then make adjustments in the next eye. Well, I was just derping around. I drew a circle and then started filling it in. I'm like, ooh, this kind of looks like we're going the direction of something like Ursula from Little Mermaid or something. But I'm not saying that that's who that is, and I'm not in any way, no copyright strikes for Disney because it's not that. But I liked like the Wicked look. I'm like, ooh, or it's like Evil Queen or somebody. I got to stick with Disney characters, I guess, for some kind of reference point. And then I was like, well, then I was trying to do like a more intense, like I'm zapping you with a lightning bolt kind of look, but instead it looks more like, holy crap, someone's being zapped with a lightning bolt. So that doesn't work. But at least it helps inform, like, if you do this, then this. So because I did the eyeball here and with so much space above it, it's saying surprise, not, for not turning to the dark side, I will now electrocute you, Well, then I got some reference, and I'll superimpose it somewhere in here. So I looked at some reference, and then now we're in the direction of Inanna's eye. And eventually we'll get to Inanna's whole face, and then eventually Inanna's whole body. But I'm thinking, yeah, this is very much more her. And then I did another reference where I was trying like a different model and a different look. This looks more like concerned that you're drawing all these Inanna pictures. But I kind of saved it and tried to get a little bit of like danger and evil look to it, and not strictly like, what do you mean they didn't come home last night? And then I was trying another reference and another angle, and I really didn't like it. It didn't pan out well. And I wrote meh to underline that. So to make this snappier than my previous video that, again, has previously or currently no views, just saying, let me go to my reference pile. It's still a work in progress because I just started doing this tonight. So I went to, well, this is great. They made a folder of just Unsplash. All right, so check this out. Look, this looks like the Vampire Brothers. Okay, this looks like I just hit the wrong button. All right. Even though this has nothing to do with anything I'm drawing right now or planning to draw, I was like, I've got to catch this reference right now and save it to my stash because that's a big deal. And I like the piercing eyes. I like the intensity, and I like the faraway look in the background. And it's like if this really was the Vampire Brothers, this guy looks like. That's right. We've been around for 6 centuries or something, and ha ha ha, we'll kick your ass. And this guy's like, hey, yeah, mortal, whatever. But I really feel like there's a lot of there. I really think that this is something that could come back later. Well, with the characters and the spaces between us or the Purity trilogy, really nobody in the book or books really fits this description. So this isn't really for that. So this throws back to Mohammed Ogbadi about you got to kind of know like why you're using your reference and what it's as. God, I hate this on YouTube, by the way. Let's just talk about that for a quick second since I'm Mr. Tangents. Could I pause a video for 1 second and unpause it and not have a flippin' ad? This is stupid. I hate it. This is bull. But anyway, back to these guys. So, and again, back to my proof video that yes, I watched this video. All right. So this doesn't work for what I'm currently doing, but it's, I think, going to make an appearance later, like when I'm working on something else, and I'm really going to be glad I captured this. So let's look at something a little more, like what captures Inanna's essence. I think this is in the right direction in that, so somebody had who was I just watching? Somebody was talking about reference. I think it was Ergo Josh. He was saying, when you use reference and you draw your character using the reference, don't make it that this person is, in this case, Inanna. It's Inanna is doing the thing that this woman is doing. And that's a huge framing point, okay? And so I think this is a good, like, I don't know that I'm necessarily going to, like, use it for that. But I like the kind of stoic look. I like the look on her face of, she's not really revealing anything. So it's not the infamous dead-eyed pose too much, because I think there's a little bit of twinkle of light back there, but it's a bit neutral, but there's also kind of a presence to it, and I like that. So that's why it's in my collection here. And then the same photographer did another one where this had more to do with like the head tilt and everything like that. The facial expression isn't right for Inanna, so I would have to come up with something a little bit else. But again, as we kind of piece all this together, I think we're kind of heading in the right direction. Just to explain kind of like why I did some of these, I like that her eye is closed, and I've been having a real big problem with closed eyes, and I've been using paused YouTube. So now I'm starting to, for my eye stuff, I'm looking for reference that gives me some different looks so I can try these different things out. So the counter or here's another. All right, the reason for this one is I'm not going to use this for Inanna, but this is another, like, it could be used for her. So back in high school, I used to draw a character called Image. And back in the day, when there was no internet, which I know you kids can't believe, I had to go to the grocery store and buy Vogue, which, that went well. That'd be kind of like being a teenage boy and buying a big box of tampons and doing it, like, very publicly. And, I at that point, I'd say, look, I'm an artist. I need this reference at the time because I really wanted different poses, different looks, and I had to flip through these big honking Vogues, like the September issue and stuff, looking for models that were standing or sitting or laying around in such a way that, just like Ergo Josh was saying, that it's the kinds of things that Image would do, in my view. And so it helped my art. It drove my teacher nuts, but again, it helped my art out where it was like, hey, I can do this. I can translate these pictures into this character. So if I was using this, I would totally have made it up in her style, in my art style. But this would be helping me out as far as what the proportions were and what the pose was and stuff like that, and shading and things like that. So Tobias is Inanna's brother. And I liked this picture. I mean, even though he's got Halloween makeup on or whatever, I'm like, I want this face. I want this look in his eyes, because Tobias is a very sensitive guy. And he's a blend of, I don't want to say hothead, because he doesn't ever really lose his shit in the books that I can remember. But he's got kind of a smoldering intensity on the one hand, but he's also very sensitive. And I like this makeup and all that is kind of like giving him a look he doesn't quite have, but we're kind of getting this off this guy's eyes that, he's got kind of like concerns. And I like this. So I'm like, yeah, definitely when I draw Tobias, I definitely want that around. So that's why that's there. And then here's another guy where I was trying to find somebody where it's like Tobias is brooding, and I want something that reflects that. And I think in this case, I just wanted the eye shape for more eye drawings as well. But yeah, so that's really the deal. I know it's a peeve that people have, that new artists give tutorials, and that's not what this is. This has more to do with kind of sharing what I'm discovering, in hopes it might help somebody else out. I'm not giving an outright tutorial like, oh, I've mastered this, now here's how you can too. Instead, this is much more what I intend these videos to be, is more like just kind of like a touching base with how my artistic journey is coming along after all these years of kind of putting it on hold. I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the process, and really it's not about the video views despite my kvetching. I'm just kind of surprised, really. It's like, I guess YouTube tagging doesn't work, and I guess nobody gives a damn about what I have to draw, but that's fine, because this isn't for anybody but me, really, so that works out. So anyway, I would say like and subscribe, because I took the trouble of putting up that sign in the background. But, don't. That's cool, because I've got my number 2 pencil, got my sketch pad, and now I got reference. Back to work. Fabulous!
Yeah.